Because wherever you go in life, everybody's going to know you by your family. If I go to New Haven, I go to Hartford, I go wherever, they know me by my family. You represent your family, so you always want to be the best that you can be. Basketball, as my brother said, got me a lot of opportunities. I went to college on a scholarship. I graduated from college. I went and played overseas for 8 out of 10 years. I played on a 10-year stretch, but 2 years I didn't go to play because I thought I had it like that. Okay? So basketball is a tool to get you where you want to go. I came back. What did I want to do? I wanted to become an educator. People said, why do you want to teach? I said, because people in Waterbury, kids in general, get a bad rap. Nobody believes in them. Nobody wants to take the time to tell them, I'm from the same neighborhood you're from. I grew up on the hill. If you're from Waterbury, you know where the hill is. I ain't talking about Bunker Hill, that's where I live now. I'm talking about the hill. If somebody say the hill, they know where it is. And it was not an easy neighborhood. Sure, there was people that were selling drugs. Sure, there was people that was doing what they were supposed to do. But I knew in my heart that I could be better than that. I knew in my heart that through education, it would get me to the next level. I came back here, and like I said, I see kids every day. I teach them every day. Why do I do it? Because I want them to be better than who? Better than me. Kids tell me, well, Mr. Parker, you don't make that much money. Dr. Sneed? I said, no, I don't. But I said, the reason why I do it is because that I'm going to have a part of your success. When you come back and you tell me that you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an electrician, you're an auto mechanic, I know I had a little part of that. That's my dream, because I know I had a part of making this world a better place. And education is the key. You have an opportunity through sports to get where you need to be, but education is definitely the key. And don't lack educationally, because then you will not get to where you want to be. Basketball, football, baseball is just the means to get where you want to be. As Dr. Joyner said, it's a business, okay? You're either an asset or your liability. So if you want to be an asset, put your time in not only to your craft of sports, but also to the craft of being educated. A strong, educated man or woman will outweigh a basketball player, a baseball player, okay? And be the best person you can be, okay? And one other thing for the young kids, as they were talking about those pants being wore down below your butt, I tell all my kids, if you really know where that came from, I said that came from jail. And I'm gonna leave you with that. That means that you're available. That's all it means, that you're available. Now, I don't want to get rude, but that's what it means from jail. Think about that. You want to show yourself in the best that you can. Continue to be well-dressed, continue to be well-mannered, and continue to hold your head up high, because you are somebody special. Thank you.
And finally, for the last presentation on the panel, we will have a little time for some interaction. I want to bring to the podium, all these gentlemen are what I call Timbuktu brothers. You know, the Italians and the Europeans have Renaissance people. But these are Timbuktu brothers who have stretched out and done things in every sphere of life. They've done the academics, they've done the athletics, they've done the spiritual, and they've done the give back. We'll talk about that later. But for the time being, let's bring Mr. Walton up here.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to the Granville Academy for inviting me here today to share what I call a very unique program. It's good to see young men and women and young brothers and sisters bonding, because it's essential. As I look back and I reflect, it wasn't that long ago that I was pretty much in the same situation many of you young people are in. Obviously, you're young and you're determined, and you're looking for the direction that is so essential in a young person's life. I was very fortunate. I had a father and a mother who really guided me, and I had 9 aunts and uncles on both sides of the family. So it was pretty much like a village raising a child, but I had three brothers in my family. So the support was there, the self-esteem that was there. So I felt very confident about my direction. Also, Bridgeport is kind of a unique environment. I see Kenny and John there. We all grew up in the same neighborhoods. And Bridgeport was quite challenging. But the decisions you make, obviously, you're going to travel the rest of your life. I was very fortunate. I went to Kobe High School. Actually, we won championships in grammar school. I got a scholarship at Kobe High School. And then I went on and got a scholarship at Ohio University. Had a lot of pressure back then because I was pretty determined in being an excellent student athlete. I consider myself a student athlete at the time because when I was being recruited by all the colleges, they only talked about basketball, but they didn't talk about my future. So my father was always concerned about the direction that the school that I was going to go to, where they were going to lead me. And one thing that we learned a long time ago from John Thompson, who was a coach at Georgetown back in the day, and when he was recruiting me, the thing that stood out in our mind more than anything was when we were in his office, he had a basketball that was deflated. That's right. And he said, "What are you going to do when they let the air out of the basketball?" And that stuck to me to this day. And I thought it was so important because my life kind of led me in that direction. I was first team All-American, front cover Sports Illustrated. Everything was great. I led the nation in scoring player of the year, and it looked like everything was going to go well. But little did I know, life sometimes throws you curves. And I had developed arthritis in the knee, and when I was the first draft pick for the Detroit Pistons, the first week of camp, the knee just went out. So I had a 3-year contract, but I came home, I flew home, everybody said, "What happened?" So you got to go through all that. But the first thing I thought about is I had 3 years of college, I was married at the time. So I had a strong family base, and they said, the first thing you're going to do is what? Go back to school. So I went back to the University of Bridgeport, got my undergraduate degree. Believe it or not, my first job, I got to an internship from the University of Bridgeport, then I got my master's afterwards after working 25 years at Unilever. I say that to say that all the energy and time that I used to put into basketball, because I used to put 1,000 shots a night, because somebody told me years ago, "You're not going to be a good basketball player." And that was the worst thing to tell me. So I took 1,000 shots a night before I knew I was the go-to guy. But it was also the same thing in school. When I was in grammar school, my father came to this principal, and the principal said, "You know, what are you going to do with Walter? We don't feel his college material." And it was a public school. My father took me out of that school and put me into a private school. And we didn't have the money, but I had the father that had the wherewithal to tell me that you're not going to put limitations on my son. And as I see parents here today, it's so important, no matter if you're an uncle, your aunt, or your brother, it's so important to help our young people because you're caretakers today, but they're going to be caretakers tomorrow. When we get old, they're going to be taking care of us. So the time and energy you put into the young people today, you're going to get the rewards later. And I thought that my father's gone now, but he was the best friend I ever had in life. 10 years have gone by, and I don't know about you, but every day of my life when he was alive, I always spoke to him before I went to bed. And that's gone now. And it makes me a little emotional because I said, you know what, I would not be here today if it was not for my mother and father. And it's so important to have that relationships. And if you don't have a father, have an uncle. But I think the young people also should realize is that you should pick your mentors as well. Because when I was coming up, I was always interested in business. Now, I knew I was a good athlete, but I always had to think about what John Thompson told me. So you always got to keep your grades up. It's important to keep your grades up because sometimes, just like myself, your plans might be directed in the opposite direction. But the one thing that holds true, education is for life. Basketball is just for fun. So you got to make your choices and your priorities. But no way in the world you're going to get anywhere in the United States without formal education. That's the way it is. That's the way society has set the standards for you. And it's so important that you balance the two. I'm a living example of it. 25 years I've worked at Unilever. And interesting enough, when you go into the business world or any type of employment, it's pretty much like basketball. It's competitive. You know, you got to get along with people, just like a team. It really doesn't deviate. It's pretty much the same. It's a different environment. So I say to you, learn hard now, and believe it or not, teamwork makes the dream work. So you got to work hard as a team. And one thing that's a big thing today, the bullying concepts today, don't be a bully. Be a friend. Because you know what? When the years go by, the same people you meet on the way up, you meet on the way down. So make sure you take care of yourself and the people around you. Jackie Robinson, I had the great privilege of working with the foundation for 25 years at Unilever. I was the liaison between the Robinson Foundation and Unilever. And one of the things that stood out in my mind with Rachel Robinson and Jackie Robinson's quote, it means a lot. A life is not important except for the impact it has on other lives. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of impact are you making as young people? Are you making an impact in the classroom, with your teammates, with your classmates, in your communities? Because if you could take all those three and make an ingredients, it will definitely reward you in the future. So be complete as an individual, be complete as a person, and most important, share your blessings, because truly the reason why you're here is because of God's blessings. God bless you.
Well, you've heard the testimony. Now we need to think about volunteering. We came here this morning to get some mentors to commit to 1 hour a week working with the young people that we say are so valuable, particularly the ones in this room, but there are many outside of this room who weren't able to make it that need the tutoring as well. But you probably want a little bit more than that in terms of the description of what has to happen. So here are a few things I would like for you to consider. I want you to talk to the gentleman that you decide to mentor. I want you to find out, can they climb? Can they improve themselves? Can they do the things that have been talked about, both in the athletic arena and in the academic classroom? And if they're not doing that, I want you to talk to them about that. More importantly, I want you to know that you got to find out, after you help them, can they lift? Can they bring somebody along, a friend, a cousin, someone who's not doing well? Can they talk to someone with a bad attitude? Can they talk to them into a good attitude? Can they lift? Thirdly, as a mentor, you got to make sure that we institutionalize the concept of giving back. Can they give back? The gentlemen that came here this morning are giving back. The people that are out here are giving back. Can we raise up our young men to give back rather than to take back? Can we raise up our young men to respect one another rather than to hate one another? You know, self-hate is a very important dilemma in our environment, and it leads to some of the negative stuff that we talked about. Can we help them to overcome self-hate such that they believe that they can be Timbuktu persons just like the people that we talked to and talked with this morning? And then finally, you got to make sure that they believe what you're telling them about in mentorship. Can they believe that they can be as successful as these individuals, and they can be as successful as any of the models you hold up in front of them? That's what the mentoring piece has to be. It includes academics, athletics, the spiritual side, the emotional side, and sometimes just the survival side. Now, I will tell you about one mentor, and I'll be short. My best friend is 104 years old. He became my mentor when I was 12. He worked in the recreation center next door to me, and he told me 3 things, and he still tells me that. He's just as lively, and lives in Dayton, Ohio, by the way. His name is Thomas Taylor. He's an Omega, by the way, and he went to Wilberforce. He didn't go to Central State. I met him for 3 years while I was in high school, and he worked as the recreation director for the Linden Center, which is next door to where I live, in the heart of the city in Dayton, Ohio. The 3 years was so impactful that I thought he had been with me all my life. But I didn't realize until we were talking one day that he was only there for 3 years. He said, my mother and my father always told me to do a couple of things. He said, 1, be careful who you hang out with. Watch your friends. go to church, contribute a little bit after you make your job, pay off what you need to do in terms of your necessities, give a little something back to your community, and above all, pray for forgiveness for your sins. He still tells me that he's 104, he'll be 105 on July 14th in Dayton, Ohio. And it leads me to close with what all of the people who are Black Greeks probably know. I got A. Bates Lyons is a captain from Central State. And of course, Maurice is, and all the Qs and Alphas and Sigmas have probably heard of this. But it's the way we close out a meeting. And it's with Hensley's poem, the Invictus. Out of the night that covers us, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for our incomparable souls. In the fell clutch of circumstance, we have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, our heads are bloody and unbowed. For beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of a shade, and the menace of the years finds and shall find us unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, or how charged with punishment the scroll, and I add a little bit here. We are the masters of our fate, and we are the captains of our soul. The floor is open for a few questions before we close off this portion of the program. Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. We appreciate y'all. Let's give them a nice round of applause. We have one question.
I got one question. That is for Parker.
All right, we have a question for the Parkers.
And Rodney had mentioned before that I was a neighbor of his, and they both know already I've done some poetry at Darrell School before. And I've always used, and I'm going to say it again, I've used the family as the ideal because I thought, that the kids did so very well. And I didn't know you got cut. I thought you always played, you was always a superstar. So I just found that out. But what do you think, if you could tell somebody specifically, okay, they can tell you to go to school, but is there something else that you can tell us that really can encourage you that your parents had 3 kids and all finished college, and now you got kids that are going to college. Is there something specifically that you could kind of, I don't know, touch on that is just beyond, okay, you just got to go to school? Is there something that you could say that can kind of help me out so maybe I could pass that on to, tell somebody else?
I think it was the pride that I saw my mother and father have, because they didn't go to school, but they were proud of who they were. I never saw my father hold his head down. I never saw my mother hold her head down. And my mother has 8 granddaughters. And my mother's, well, she was 5'11", but maybe now she's like 5'9". But she always tells them, stand up straight and tall. So, to me, like my brother said, my last name is Parker, and I want you to remember who I am. I always want you to remember who I am. And I just think that hard work in family is very important. And just like people were saying, it doesn't have to be your immediate family. The family could be your neighbor, Mr. Joe. The family could be, Grandma Betty, who is everybody's grandmother in that neighborhood. But you have to find, and I think my parents found that thing that, my children are going to be better than us.
I think one of the things that need to be addressed to our young people is that you could never fail if you never give up. Okay? Failure is part of life. And so I think that's what kills your self-esteem. So that stick-to-itiveness is critical. you know, to our young people. And, you know, when you think about challenges, things that are difficult, I can tell you, the harder you work, the easier it gets. So that's what, in your classroom, mathematics, sciences, whatever, the things that are hard, keep working hard. We keep working hard at it. It gets a lot easier. Practice.
I just want to say, as parents and as mentors, we need to always encourage and look at the good. A lot of times we stick with the negative. You know, you're not doing well in this, you're not doing well in that. But always encourage, lift them up. And then they'll see it in themselves that they can make it, and then they will want to do it for themselves. Because as a teacher, I know it's hard to motivate somebody. You have to be self-motivated, you have to be, but if you encourage them and give them those kind words and always look at the good points in them, then I think they will have that self-discipline for themselves to do better.
I'm Bates Lyons, and I live in Torrington. But one of the things I like to say to the youth here, and we talk about going to college. What you may hear from parents is that we don't have the money. There is money out there to send you to school, so don't let that stop you. I did an MBA program at Columbia, and it didn't cost me a dime. So you can do it. There's money out there, scholarships. You may have to go dig deep in Google and find the money, but don't let finance stop you from achieving your educational goals.
My question is to an individual, and I would like for him to go to the mic. Maurice Mosley, will you go to the mic? Because I'm going to talk about you. All of us talk about great ball players that played the game. You stand before one of the greatest guards that ever played in the city of Waterbury. A lot of people said I couldn't jump, but I always asked Maurice for the ball, and he gave it to me. Another thing I want to bring to you, Irvin, you need to stand up too, because both of these brothers, stand brother, they came from an educated family. Their mother, Mrs. Mosley, taught in the school system in Waterbury. And trust me, when one of the kids acted up, we went up there to defend Mrs. Mosley. When you talk about the Parkers, you talk about the Mosleys, those are great names within our community. Most of you young people today, remember who you are and what your name is, because it's very, very important. Am I telling it like it is, Mr. Luckett? Am I saying it like it is, Mr. Parker? Once again, my friend Maurice Mosley went away to college, had problems at school, but yet he had a 4-year scholarship and he finished school. That's saying a lot for not dribbling the ball. I want to end up to tell you how leadership started. We helped start the Pearl Street Basketball League. We were playing basketball, the garbage can stunk, we took it to the mayor's office. From there, we got lights from CLNP, and we started one of the best leagues in this area. We played at Hamilton Park. 5 years, we were undefeated. I was telling some of my friends today that I got called the N-word by a ref. And I went to a meeting with Dr. Sneed, and Dr. Sneed said, "Oh, Monroe, he'll punch a ref." And I said, "Dr. Sneed, don't tell these white people that." And I went on to tell the story. Don't duck, Mouse, don't duck. I know him as Mouse, you know him as Mr. Mosley. But after I got thrown out, guess what my favorite guard did? He ran to the scorer's table and tore up the book. So I say that to you. We need to honor you, Mouse. I came here in May of '65. I appreciate your friendship, and I love you to death. And thank you for putting on this great program.
Jim, thanks a lot. Right back at you. This whole program is about what we're going to do for the youngsters. And I'm going to call up a youngster right now, and he has a chance to either ask a question or tell us how he has enjoyed the program, what he has got out of it, because it's all about youngsters. And he plays basketball 24/7. Juan, come on up, Juan. Come on up. Give Juan a round of applause. This is Joyce Petaway, who we all know, her favorite grandson. Give Juan a round of applause. Juan, I want you to give us, before we transition to the next phase of the program, just give us your reaction to everything that you've seen today. I'm just so happy that you're here.
Hello, I'm Juan Perilla. I go to Kansas Tech. I'm a freshman. I think this program was great. It was inspirational to see that a lot of people care about basketball, and that basketball and education always goes together, but education is first, as everybody says. And I have a question for Mr. Rodney Parker. What motivated you every day to continue to play basketball and go to school?
I wanted it. I love basketball. I love it. And my thing was, I couldn't play. I could go outside and just play, but it was just the love, and the love from that transitioned me into love my education. Because, like my brother said, you gotta have a balance. If I had in high school, if I had been a D, F, C student, Norfolk State would have not come and said, here's this. At the time I was going to school, my 4-year scholarship for Norfolk State out-of-state student was and I still know this number, $16,437 for 4 years. They would have never came and said, you know, Mrs. and Mrs. Parker, we want your son. And besides that, somebody said it today, my father used to say it too, know who your friends are. Know who your friends are. It's very important for young people now to know who your friends are and your real friends.
That's a question I had.
Before we transition, I have to recognize my esteemed leader, Dr. Steve, and his lovely wife, Dr. Connie Steve. Give a round of applause. He has allowed me and others to do things like this, and after lunch, we're giving him a special Lifetime Achievement Award, so you have to stay to have lunch and acknowledge him when we give him his award. Now we're going to